Father John Parker is Dean of St. Tikhon's Orthodox Seminary in South Canaan, Pennsylvania. He was previously rector of Holy Ascension Orthodox Church in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, where he wrote over 170 essays on spiritual topics for local publications. Father John has his Doctor of Ministry degree from St. Vladimir's Orthodox Seminary. I was recently at St. Tikhon's and was glad for the opportunity to spend some time with Father John, and he graciously agreed to sit down for this interview. So without further ado, I hope you'll enjoy this episode from an interview with Father John Parker.
St. Tikhon's Orthodox Theological Seminary was founded in 1938 in the hills of northeast Pennsylvania. It's a place where, as we say here, the saints have walked, and where I like to add, where new saints are being formed. Here, the seminary was inspired by St. Tikhon of Moscow, not founded directly by him, but inspired by St. Tikhon of Moscow. And here on the seminary grounds, in partnership with the St. Tikhon's Monastery, where 5 North American saints have walked, including St. Tikhon himself, and more specifically to the seminary, St. Nikolai Velimirovich, who was the rector of our seminary in the 1950s. He is known as the new Chrysostom for his remarkable preaching. In fact, they say on the days when he would preach here, the church would be completely and totally packed, wall to wall, front to back, and that his preaching, actually, he was one who fought for preaching in English here, and perhaps it was for that reason, in addition to his great homiletical skill, that he was so popular a preacher. His sermons are available to us to read even to this day. So St. Tikhon's historically is a remarkable place, unique in North America. Well, unique perhaps second to Alaska, there where St. Herman, St. Innocent, and the other missionary saints first landed to bring Orthodoxy to North America. Maybe we could say that St. Tikhon's Monastery and Seminary, it's difficult to speak about them separately, because in so many ways they beat together like one heart, or they breathe together like two lungs. St. Tikhon's is a place where the saints have been, where the saints have walked. St. Tikhon's Seminary has a remarkable partnership with St. Tikhon's Monastery. Here, on the grounds of St. Tikhon's, we have on the one side of St. Tikhon's Road the seminary and its buildings, its refectory, the dorm where the single students live. On the other side of St. Tikhon's Road, St. Tikhon's Monastery with the monastery church, the cells where the monks live, etc. For us, this beautiful partnership is seen in the two places of theological education and pastoral formation. It's seen in theological education in the sense that the monks teach our seminarians. So, for example, the abbot, Archimandrite Sergius, teaches the first-year students in spirituality. Hieromonk Herman teaches in liturgics. Hieromonk Gabriel teaches the students their introductory course in Greek. So educationally speaking, the monks come over to us, and then you could say ecclesiastically speaking, or with respect to the church services, the students and the faculty and staff, we worship together in the monastery church and in their morning and evening cycles. That is remarkable for us, and a great gift that's been given to St. Tikhon's Seminary, that beautiful partnership. Another facet of the seminary which is really critical for us is the fact that it's incredibly remote. I have had the benefit, you could say, of going to seminary 3 times. I attended Episcopalian Seminary, Trinity School for Ministry, before we founded the Orthodox faith. That was in Pittsburgh. St. Vladimir's in New York, 2 times. And now I've come to St. Tikhon's to serve here. And I must admit that the rural nature of the seminary setting is a vital ingredient to the formation of the future pastors of our church. Specifically, it's nearly impossible to do anything else here other than be trained and formed. The nearest regular grocery store is 20 minutes by car. The nearest regular restaurant to which we'd be accustomed in the world is 35 minutes by car. So you really come out into the country where we can focus on praying together, serving together, studying together, discussing the faith together, etc. The community is bolstered by this rural setting. Here at St. Tikhon's, we have world-renowned professors. The rector of our seminary, His Eminence Archbishop Michael of New York and New Jersey, teaches in the Old and New Testaments. And we have Dr. Christopher Benjamin, trained at Oxford, who teaches our patristics courses, Dr. Harry Busalis in the dogmatics department, and the tag team Doctors Ford, Dr. David and Dr. Mary Ford, Dr. Mary Ford, who is trained and teaches in biblical exegesis, and Dr. David Ford, who teaches particularly in the church history department, and who together just love St. John Chrysostom, and especially the question of husband and wife, which is so vital for us in our day today. We have remarkable adjunct faculty members who come mostly from nearby and help to bolster the balance of our seminary curriculum. Students here at the seminary, they're formed in, one could say, three ways. One is in the church services. It's once said that if you ask a Roman Catholic about his faith, he would take you to the library, and if you ask an Orthodox Christian about his faith, he would take you to his church. I wonder if that's fair to say today. We have libraries full of our own books in English now, but for sure here at St. Tikhon's, the most vital formation which takes place is in the daily cycle of services, which, as I've mentioned, we share with the monks in the monastic church. The services are served here in the morning every single day, 6 o'clock, midnight office, 6:30, the hours, 6:45, the Divine Liturgy, finishing up about 8. Students come to the morning services 2-3 times a week, and then in the evening we have the 9th hour Vespers, Matins, and first hour starting at 4:30 each day, and the students come for those evening services more than they do to the morning ones. Those are some logistical questions which we could talk about. It's complex joining into a monastery cycle of prayer, but that is so vital for our students. And what is true of St. Tikhon students specifically is that they know and love the church services and graduate not only having marinated in those church services, but also having learned how to serve them with dignity and beauty in a spirit of love and peace. Right now, the seminary has 43 full-time students, in our senior class 15, in the middler class 15, and the incoming class 13. Generally speaking, they are mostly married students these days. I would say about 2/3 of our students are married with children and come from all parts of the United States. We are overwhelmingly students from the Orthodox Church in America, although there are also students here from the Antiochian Archdiocese. There are students who come from the Greek Archdiocesan background, and we have a couple of students from the ROCOR, including one from Australia. And that mix of students also includes about 1/3 single students who live in the dorm here. That makes for a very beautiful community because we have students who come straight out of college, especially the single ones, and we have those who are on, you could say, a second vocation, having maybe finished a course of work in the world and maybe even found the Orthodox faith later in their lives, who now come to offer themselves in service to Christ and His church and bring their families along with them. So that community here is remarkable and beautiful, young and old, from near and from far. This actually is a little bit of a historical change for St. Tikhon Seminary because while it was not founded specifically for single students. For the vast majority of the history of St. Tikhon's, it was young unmarried men who came to study here, many of them who, singing in our mission choir, would find their wives in various parishes when they would go out singing. So that's why we actually have such a large dormitory. It's a snapshot of the history of St. Tikhon's. Now the demographic has largely shifted to become more of a home for married students with their children. Nevertheless, it really represents one huge family, and young and old alike serve and worship together, study together, serve with one another in places like the kitchen and in scrubbing the toilets in the bathroom and so forth. So a beautiful and great mix. I began to mention that the formation of the students here at St. Tikhon's the locus of that formation is in the church services. We could say the second locus, if it's possible, we know that mathematically it's possible to have two loci, is in the classroom. And then the third would be in service, actually. So every student at St. Tikhon's, more than just simply to have a service project assignment or something like that, has a duty assigned to him, which includes kitchen. It includes cleaning the toilets. It could include working to mow the lawns here. We have vast lawns, weed whacking, polishing things, taking care of the seminary chapel, serving with one of the monks to keep the monastery church clean, all sorts of different service assignments which help to cultivate in each of our students a sense of servanthood. This is, if I were asked what is the most vital aspect of the seminary life, it would be tied to that beautiful passage in the epistle that St. Paul wrote to the Galatians in chapter 5 when he said, "Brethren, you are called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the sinful nature. Rather," he said, "serve one another in love." So that service in love takes place liturgically in the church, and that service in love takes place practically in the hands-on service assignments that each of the students has here at St. Tikhon's Seminary. St. Tikhon's is in a beautiful season. It's in a season, I would say, of rebirth, or one could say growth. We see that in the growth of our student body. We see that also in the renovation and renovations of our buildings. Just this past year, because of the kindness of several generous donors, we built a brand new state-of-the-art kitchen facility in our refectory. We have here at St. Tikhon's what is customarily called the gymnasium, which was built many decades ago and was actually the site of the first All-American Sobor in the Orthodox Church in America nearly 50 years ago. That was completely renovated top to bottom last year and is among the finest places here at the seminary. We have just this past summer undergone the renovations of our faculty hallway, where we made some rather remarkable, you could say, architectural discoveries. We took the paneling down from every wall and from every ceiling. We took the ceiling tiles out and took it straight down to the studs to find the original building, actually, which is quite a cool thing to observe. More specifically, it's well known that St. Nikolai Velimirovich, who I mentioned served here as the rector, also died here in the hallway at St. Tikhon's in prayer. There are many stories that we can ask a number of alumni from that era who were his students and even his cell attendants and so forth, who have some oral tradition about which room was his. However, the building had had many additions and walls were moved and so forth. When we took all of that down, we discovered exactly and precisely which room is his, and so instead of returning that to use as an office space for one of our faculty members, that will become the shrine to St. Nikolai. which will be sort of a partner to our school's chapel, which is also named for St. Nikolai. So there's a lot of renovation, renewal in the infrastructure of St. Tikhon's right now, which I think also is an outward and visible sign of the rejuvenation of St. Tikhon Seminary as a place for study, for theological education, for pastoral formation, place of pilgrimage, and so forth. So, for example, this fall, we will host the Orthodox Inter-Seminary Movement. Students from all of the Orthodox seminaries in North America have been invited to come here, and that will be hosted in the month of November. Also in the month of November, for the first time ever, the board of the Orthodox Christian Mission Center, OCMC, which is our shared North American Orthodox sending agency for all of the Orthodox missionaries that are deployed around the world. The board of the OCMC will meet here at St. Tikhon's for the first time ever. Also this fall, right around the same time as this beautiful meeting with the OCMC, we will welcome, hopefully we'll welcome more than 100 of you who are listening and watching to come to a follow-up conference. Last spring was hosted at Jordanville, the conference on the human person, human anthropology and sexuality, facing these critical questions of the day with the rich tradition of Orthodox Christianity. We will share a follow-up conference here at St. Tikhon's in the month of November called Speaking the Truth in Love. The practical aspects of this question are our aim here at St. Tikhon's in this follow-up conference. So we urge you to keep your eye out for that and to come and listen to a whole host of speakers, 18 speakers, I believe, who will talk in practical terms. It's not high theology thinking way in the clouds. This is how to talk to teenagers about these kinds of questions, how to deal with practical matters of this. We can't even call it the sexual revolution anymore because it's so far past revolution, it's into total anarchy practically. But we'll have that beautiful conference here. So there is a lot going on at the seminary, especially this fall as we continue our renovations and as we look forward to a number of conferences that welcome folks to come here. Generally speaking, I would say St. Tikhon's seminary and monastery, the grounds that we have here, the history that we have here, the saints who have walked here, this was largely unknown to me prior to my interview and coming here. For me, I would say to myself, having settled in my own niche of the world and way far away in South Carolina, that's up there, it's in northeastern Pennsylvania, I don't have a reason to go up there. I'm here to tell you, you should come here because it's such a remarkable place of grace. It's filled with the rich history of the Orthodox Church in America. It's permeated by the prayers of the monks here who have served the divine liturgy every single day since the foundation of the monastery. For all of those years, more than 115 years, the divine liturgy every single day is served here. The seminary with the monastery is a place of intense spiritual formation and prayer. It is also a place of intense spiritual warfare because the devil doesn't want anybody here. He could whisper that in our ears as a matter of complacency. Oh, you don't need to go up there, it's Pennsylvania. He might whisper that in the ears of those who are here because to come here, you really have to leave everything. Even if it's only for a weekend, you really leave everything behind. But actually, that's what makes this place the amazing and fertile ground that it is for preparing oneself to return to the world well strengthened, well girded for the proclamation of the gospel to a world which is perishing.
Hi again, hope you enjoyed this episode from my interview with Father John Parker. Please subscribe to get notified when new episodes become available. And if you enjoy the content on this channel, please consider supporting it. There's a link to the support page on our website below this video. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.